Hello, this is Greg Galson, Green Greg's. Time on deck is 2900 hours Central Standard Time. Russia has taken these threats now to a new level, to a new incendiary level, because Russia has just threatened to turn everyone in the West into radioactive ash if we don't back off in Ukraine, back off in general. This is a whole new level of threats that are coming out of Russia. Both from members of the Russian government, media, and Vladimir Putin himself. We are entering into a very dangerous phase. Russia had been saying, oh, well, we're not really going to invade, even though they got 175,000 troops across the border. We're just trying to negotiate, blah, blah, blah. But the new rhetoric, the new language really has got the analysts thinking they're about ready to roll. So this is coming to you as part of my eyes wide open and head on a swivel news, guys, because it's getting tense now. Now it is really getting tense. When will this happen? What's going to happen? There are some sources talking about maybe February from some of the language coming out of Russia, some of the preparations and things they're doing. Although some American analysts think that it might happen as early as even as Christmas. Let's hope not. But when I was in the military, I used to always worry about a Christmas attack because I'd always observe in Christmas, so many of our troops went home. That was our weakest time of posture. And of course, many times Christmas has been used to the advantage of one force against another, such as, General George Washington making a Christmas attack, as you may well know. And that changed the game for the American forces in the Revolutionary War. I'm against war in general, but guys, you got to defend yourselves, and you can't just surrender everything to somebody who wants to steamroll over you. So the best defense, the best defense is, well, there's that. I'm not going there. Guys, you got to be strong. You got to be strong. Don't be the weak kid on the playground, because the bully always takes your candy. We got to be strong. That's the best defense, really, is to be so strong that no one is tempted. But apparently now, a lot of people are being tempted to take the candy from the baby, being us. We seem to be weak at the moment. Whether you believe that or not, we're certainly being threatened like never before. The rhetoric is off the charts like never before. And this is a good time, guys, to consider the things I put on this channel. To subscribe to this channel, bang the update notification bell and click all, and share these videos with your friends and family so they'll know to prep to get ready, because we're living in peerless times. Let's hope and pray that these things do not come to pass, because we don't want this. But at the same time, the threats are really ratcheting up on many fronts. Russia is just one of them. And there's more than one threat with Russia right now, unfortunately, Russia and Belarus. So it's a good time to prepare. You need to go back and look at my videos about how to garden. You need to look at my videos about how to eat free from the weeds and the trees. And you need to further prepare yourself and your family. Make sure you got food storage. Get seeds to garden. Check my links to True Leaf Market. But mostly, guys, right now, you better make sure you got something to carry you through in case we have a nuclear winter, because you might not be able to grow anything for a few years, and all the rest of the farmers might be in the same boat. So you better consider long-term food storage and think about it fast. And right now, we do have a special. If you go to prepwithgreg.com, you can get $100 off a 3-month supply of food. Then that's 6 of these buckets. 2 of these buckets makes a month. One of them is 2 weeks. You get 6 of them. $100 off if you go to prepwithgreg.com. This stuff lasts 25 years. It offers 2,000 calories per day, which is will sustain you and keep you going. That's more than enough, as opposed to some of the other competitors that are offering 800 calories a day, which is starvation rations, my friend. You need rations that can get you through. This is easy to prep with, because you can bug out with it. It's lightweight. You can move it around. This is 2 weeks full. This is 2 weeks of food that I can toss around like this. Why? Because it's freeze dried, and it reconstitutes into real food. So check it out. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 2,000 calories a day. It's a deal to make you a winner. Now, enough said about that. Let's go into some of these articles. I'm going to show you just a couple of articles. We're going to talk about this. We're going to make this a quick video. I wanted to do one on China and why I think they might be more tempted to attack next year than they would otherwise want to. But so we are in a perilous time. We are in a very perilous time. Let me do some shares here. I am going to share some stuff with you guys real fast. And here's what we're looking at. Putin issues terrifying war warning. Russia ready to turn everyone into radioactive ash. Now, that actually came from Dmitry Kiselov here. But let's see. Putin warned that he is willing to take military measures, and this was on today, Tuesday, military measures in response to unfriendly Western action in Ukraine. And the clear sign yet that the Russian strongman is gearing up for war. That's how it's interpreted, what he's saying here. And he was speaking during a meeting of the defense ministry again today, Tuesday, and he said Russia will react toughly to unfriendly steps. Unfriendly steps. That's interesting language. How would you call it unfriendly steps? It's kind of unspecific for the kind of threats that's thrown around. And stress that we have every right to do so. Interesting language. Every right to do so. That really? Well, wow. And then yesterday, Monday, Dmitry Kiselov said he's a Russian media mogul. So you might say, well, what's that? You know, but he's apparently been a mouth of Russia before. He said he threatened to look at this. I don't even want to say this word. I'm not even going to say it. Just read it for yourself. That's the kind of language that's like verboten. You know, put a nug to every American's head. Wow, to America's head. If NATO forces are stationed in Ukraine, we actually have some. Does that count the teachers that we got there, the people that are training? We have military trainers in Ukraine right now. We do, and as some of you may know, my good friend Lee Wheelbarger was in Ukraine the last time the Russians attacked. So we've had people there. So what does he consider military forces? If forces are stationed there, is this what is the level? You know, unfriendly steps, very unspecific. And he said further that and warned the alliance to back off. It's like we're already if we got to back off, it means we're already too far forward. That's what that means. When they say back off, that means we're already too far forward. He says otherwise. Now this is Putin. This is Putin talking. Listen, no, this is Dmitry Kiselov. Otherwise, everyone will be turned into radioactive ash. Otherwise, everyone will be turned into radioactive ash. Well, guys, that is over the top. That is just nuts. That is bat guano crazy. And that kind of language will get out and their state media is rather frightening. America has been warning that for some weeks that Putin is poised to attack. That's what they're saying here. And continuing his fiery rhetoric, Mr. Putin said, we need long-term treaty, legally binding guarantees, and warned that you can't take America at its word. He says America easily withdraws from all international treaties that for one reason or another become uninteresting to them. Of course, we withdrew from Afghanistan, didn't we? In a rather unseemly manner. He's also probably talking about some of the missile defense treaties. But, guys, Russia already had 2 missile defense sites. So stating Russia must act in kind, the president said, what is going on, this tension that builds up in Europe, it is their fault. And at each step, Russia has to respond somehow. So he's saying that they've got to respond for what we've already got. That's where this we've got to pull back language comes from. He's already saying that we're too far forward. We've got to pull back. And indeed, what I just did a video on this, and they've said that we've got to basically pull out of NATO nations that are already NATO nations that were former Warsaw Pact countries in Eastern, not Poland. Poland don't want to be in part of Russia or anything to do with Russia, and neither does the Baltic countries. The Baltic countries, unfortunately, may be very hard to defend, as I mentioned in my previous video on this topic. President ended the infrastructure. If this infrastructure moves, talking about us, the U.S. and NATO missile systems appear. The other way, in the Ukraine, then the flight time to Moscow is reduced from 7 to 10 minutes. So he's talking about hypersonic missiles flying. Well, so far he hasn't been watching our hypersonics program. Everything's been failing so far, but this is what he's talking about. So he's basically saying we got them in a Cuban Missile Crisis kind of manner. But I'll talk to you some things that's not in these 2 articles here in a minute. Let's see here. This is it's also confirmed by Professor Sakwa, however, that Russia expert noted that short of saying either Russia or Ukraine would actually start a war, stating that diplomacy was preferred. They're saying that still, but the terms they're putting to the United States or terms into NATO are terms that neither one could agree to. And a lot of our military analysts are saying because they're offering those, putting those kind of terms out, that they're not serious, that they're actually prepping for war, and they're using this as an excuse to move forward because they'll know they put terms to us that we can't accept, and that we would therefore, they would have their excuse to roll. And that's all this is, an excuse to move forward, which is pretty much what I said in my last video on this topic. These so-called military experts have come around now, and they're saying that. And this old worm farmer kind of gets ahead of the experts from time to time, don't I? Anyway, the United States must sign off its hegemony. Its hegemony is over. So he's telling us just to back off, to blow away, basically. Really? And either way, let's see, they said either they step back voluntarily. Now, see, that's what they're saying. We're too far forward already. Either they step back voluntarily, or we will make them do it by force. Now, see, that's the key thing, right? Either they step back voluntarily, or we will make them do it by force. That's a threat of war. And Russia makes no guarantees about the survival of Ukraine, especially as a sovereign state. Okay. And the presenter was saying that maybe we are already on, that maybe we really are on the eve of war with NATO. And this goes on and on and on. All right, and that's not just it. And here's another article pretty much saying the same, talking about the, and this is President Putin's threatened military action in response to NATO's expansion toward the Russian border. So they're talking about the expansion we've already done, where we're already at, by countries that are already allies, independent sovereign nations. US and its allies must understand that we have nowhere further to retreat. Well, we do have a lot of stuff up close to them, but not right on them. Russia and Putin cannot allow missiles to be placed in Ukraine, he says, which is already said here. So this is pretty much a recapitulation of what was already in the other article. I'm going to stop this share and tell you about some other things I've been saying on this. They revealed that Russia has already been in discussions about placing missiles in Cuba. Yeah, once again, they're talking about Cuba and South American countries. What South American country might that be? Venezuela, of course. Only Venezuela. Venezuela. And then I just do a video about China putting stuff in Venezuela. And we already know that Iran's sending lots of missiles to Venezuela. Some of these would be capable of maybe putting an EMP device on them, since they're, they're intermediate range ballistic missiles. You don't need an intercontinental ballistic missile to hit the United States from there. So you can put some pretty good payloads on them. And so that, and your EMP super weapons aren't the bigger ones, guys. The smaller ones that don't require all this shielding can put up more gamma rays and cause a bigger EMP than the larger nukes. Believe it or not, that's the case. You know what? We're talking about 300 kiloton type devices like North Korea was testing. Yeah, so there you go. That would be the optimal probably for an EMP super weapon. And that's not as big as like our 2 kiloton hydrogen bombs that we have. So guys, we are in serious times. And furthermore, the articles are out saying that Russia is preparing their people for nuclear war. It's coming out in their news media. Their news media is just harping on this stuff. And they're not being prepared. Oh yeah, and there's a new standard that Russians have just put out, a standard for mass burial of people with bulldozers in Russia and elsewhere, battlefields, Russia. Yeah, and some of the Soviet critics have warned that this would be one of the signposts to a war. There's something like this coming out. So it ain't looking exactly pretty. Why would Russia make this kind of rhetoric if it's just offer negotiation? So, but the negotiation point is we got to surrender right now, not say we're not going to touch Ukraine, but basically back off and surrender stuff. Now, it's possible that Russia's putting all this rhetoric out just so they can roll in Ukraine and we won't react in Ukraine only. It's also possible they mean it. If they mean it, then you got to ask, are they really that paranoid? Is Putin paranoid? The Putin paranoia, is it that high? It may be. because he certainly says it. He's been saying it. He's been saying it continuously for some time now. Yeah, maybe it's worked into his own mind. Maybe him and his leader, they talk amongst each other. Maybe they've got themselves worked up into this. Gosh, let's hope not. But I don't think, the NATO countries, you look at Europe, they're not chomping to go to war with Russia. They're needing Russia for gas supplies and so forth. So it's hard to really envision that. And why would the United States do it? Well, there's one thing. The Democrat administrations have been very hard on Russia. Democrats have been hard on Russia. Blame, and it's one reason maybe Trump couldn't make any real peace deals with Russia, because he was having to defend himself for being close to Russia and his entire administration on what's been proved now to have been trumped up charges. I don't want to get all into that, but guys, it's too bad we couldn't have made peace with Russia earlier and used them as an ally against China, but we blew that opportunity. And now they are leaning forward right now against us more than anyone. Have we backed the bear into a corner? Do they think we're backed into a corner? You got to remember this. This is where I'm really coming from. You may be jumping all over me about this, but Hillary Clinton on national TV in some show where she's been interviewed said back when she was early on when she was running for president, that we needed to establish no-fly zone over all of Syria. And the Russians are already in Syria flying their MiGs around. And somebody says, well, what happens when a Russian shoots a MiG or flies a MiG? She says, well, shoot it down. That was back going on nuts. That was back going on crazy. That's a World War III kind of statement. For her to say that off the cuff like that, that probably is what prompted Putin to have said, and he actually said this, that if Hillary had been elected, he would have launched the first strike against America. Did he mean it? I hope not. I hope not. Maybe it was just rhetoric. But you got to remember something. Putin is former KGB. And he's a pretty serious fellow. So, don't take him too lightly. He might just actually mean what he says. Maybe. I kind of hope not. Let's hope it's bluff. But this for bluff, this is off the charts. Literally off the charts. So, why would they be making this kind of rhetoric, guys? Yeah, I'm sure everyone will have in the chat session, you're going to have a million different theories and ideas about it. That's good. Go ahead and discuss it down there and throw rocks at what I'm saying, because I'm just telling you what the Russians are saying. I'm not saying what it really means, because my crystal ball is there, but it makes a nice light ornament. Okay, in terms of being able to see through this situation with it don't work all that well. I mean, guys, look, I beat the analysts, several military analysts, on the stuff that I brought on this channel. And years later they come around, oh yeah, this, that, and the other stuff I said 2 years ago, talking about especially Venezuela and a few other things. But guys, this is the situation. It's you got to put yourself in the mindset that they're in. Think where those people are at. What are they really thinking? What's their real ambition? We know they really like to take Ukraine. And maybe all this is just a pretext to enable them to do that. And there's several reasons they might want to take Ukraine. So they might go for it. They just may actually roll this time. Let's hope not. Let's hope it's just negotiations, but good grief. They know they're putting stuff out there that we're not going to agree to. And one of the things that some other people are saying in Russia is, oh, look, we've published in full discourse the entire treaties beforehand. Now, the two proposed treaties I mentioned in my other video. He said, never before has that happened. Like, we've gone way overboard to try to make peace and blah, 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 blah. At the same time, the demands in those proposed treaties were way over the top. And it was something that the West wouldn't agree to. And Vladimir Putin, has already said that we're terrible for, having in a treaty with. Well, how do you expect, members of NATO would react if half of them are in there with a treaty with us and we just said, nah, you're not part of us no more. Bye-bye. Then what's the other guys that's got treaties with us going to think? So our entire ability to make a treaty is at risk if we agree to things like that. Now, maybe we shouldn't have got all into this in the first place. I've always kind of thought, Europe should take care of itself. Why do we got to be part of NATO? Europe, Europe's got a free ride for a long time off having the U.S. covering their back. A lot of people point to the European nations. Look how prosperous they are. Look how prosperous socialism can be in Europe. A lot of so-called socialist countries, played with socialism and they backtracked a lot on it. You might find, if you really look, you'd find, except for Medicare, the United States is probably more socialist than a lot of those countries right here. But they backed off on a lot of those things that they were really leaning forward in the realm of socialism on. But they could maybe better afford it because, and maybe have more prosperity because they weren't paying the full bill in their defense. And that's one thing Trump came up with. He says, look, NATO's not living up to their side of it. We're carrying the water for them. And a lot of people criticized and chastised Trump for that. Well, it's something I'd been saying for a long darn time. Myself, why in the world are we carrying them? And those countries are prosperous and doing well, and we're carrying the water for them. Well, they're waking up now. And Europe has been waking up, thinking they got to have their own forces and blah 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 blah. But Europe is also shattering as an entity because people don't want to be part of that European Union because it's too draconian in many ways. People want to be their own countries, but they can still have a military alliance between them. Why, or just like NATO, why is the United States got to be in the middle of it, back in all that stuff? It's a darn good question, but we are there. And back in the days when there was a Soviet Union that wanted to conquer the world, I could see it. Russia has, what a lot of people don't understand is Russia's got more nukes than we do. Russia has weapons that are frightening beyond comparison. Their hypersonic missiles are working. Ours are just fizzling. And same with China. Our big military contractors have gotten too fat, and they're making a lot of money, but they're developing systems that just aren't delivering, at least in the area of hypersonics. And for the money charged, and we can see this across the board. Look at Boeing's CST program, CST 100. Which just ain't flying. It's been out there for a long time. It's riddled with problems, whereas SpaceX Dragon has been up and down, up and down, up and down. But these old bloated contractors, they've got more bureaucracy often internally than the government, and they're also, they sub out so many things and are so dependent on their other subs, and they're having issues with a lot of them. They're sub-tier providers. That it's causing a lot of problems. I think that's probably the case. Some of that CST 100, it's probably not exactly Boeing's fault, but they're having a lot of issues there. And I'm seeing that in other programs, by the way. I'm not going to delve into that too much. But we are in a pickle, guys. We are in a very bad situation here. And I'm expecting Russia may indeed roll into the Ukraine. It could happen Christmas. It could happen in February. There are some internal talks coming out of Russia. It makes it sound like they're thinking they're going to have everything lined up the way they want it in February. Of course, that could be a deception because they plan to move earlier. I said some of our military analysts are actually thinking they might do it in Christmas. Wow. So don't know. Let's hope that don't happen. Let's pray that don't happen. What's the real answer to this? We're in a tough spot. How do you really answer this? We've appeared too weak. That has really opened us up. And maybe we leaned too far forward. We've got treaties now, though. We've not leaned into Ukraine yet. But, we do have trainers there. We have people there that are training forces. We have people that are there providing indirect support. And does that cross the red line? Putin said we've already crossed the red line. I mean, that's what he's saying. He said, I've put this red line out there, and if you cross the red line, you're going to fry. And we've already, according to them, crossed that red line. So what does it mean? It's hard to say, guys. It's really hard to say. But here's what you need to know. You do need to call your congressman and tell them to be very careful. And rhetoric that some of them are making, like Senator Wickers in Mississippi, is also back guano crazy. He's a Republican, so I'll pick on Republicans too. Anyway, so this guy's is back guano crazy territory. We don't need to be threatened to nuke them. They don't need to be threatening that to us either. But Putin has actually said in the past that Russia could survive a nuclear war. You need to see my videos on nuclear bug out. You need to see my videos, and I probably just posted the banner to them earlier in this video. You need to see those videos about how to survive a nuclear winter. You need to see that kind of stuff. I go into great detail in that nuclear bug out winter about radiation, effects of radiation, how it works, how to shield it. These are things you need to learn. This is the prepping things you need to understand, because we may be facing this either from Russia or from China, or maybe North Korea. North Korea is very unstable, but North Korea is kind of thinking about dropping out of communism in some things I've seen. They're thinking about making a peace treaty with us. But then again, that could be a prelude to something else. Who knows, guys? Who knows? North Korea is extremely desperate right now. Extremely desperate. Even China is even making rules, kind of probably they might even invade North Korea. So I don't know, guys. We're already in back guano crazy times. You need to prepare. You need to take preps seriously. You might say, Greg, I can't afford a year's worth of stuff. Well, if you bought a week's worth every week, extra week worth every week, and did that for a year, you'd have a year's food stored up. You can always go to the big box stores and buy the beans and rice. You should do that. You should buy cans. You should do that. That's cheaper stuff, but you better buy some stuff you can bug out with too, and stuff that's got the longer term storage. That's where the special I offer flies in, especially if we have a nuclear winter. It may be a few years before you can plant those seeds, but you better be ready to garden, because in the long term, all your stores aren't going to carry you. You got to find somebody carrying yourself. And a lot of you relying on wild game. That game won't last no time at all when the grid goes down and smoke goes up. It'll be gone pretty fast. And if we have a nuclear winter, the vegetation that stuff relies to survive on is not going to be there. The wild game is going to be suffering. So will wild edibles, unfortunately, in a situation like that. I do a lot of videos on wild edibles, and that's important to know. But all this stuff is going to suffer mightily if we have a nuclear winter. And apparently it doesn't take that big of a war to cause a lot of problems in the area. Even just Pakistan and Iran, Pakistan and India could get us there. Possibly Iran and Israel, especially if Israel, like does everything they're thought to have toward Iran. Yikes, guys, we are in nutty times. We are in nutty times. Just get ready. First off, get right with your maker. Second off, consider how bad it could be so that you're not caught in a catastrophic state of shock, so that you can actually still think. And for that reason, don't panic. Like I've said many times, there's other channels on here to tell you, don't panic now. I'll tell you when to panic. No. Never panic. You might get in a hurry, but keep your wits about you. Think. This is the best thing you got for preparations. This is your best thing you got for self-defense. It's between your eyes, between your ears, up here in the noggin, your brain. Keep it functioning properly. Take care of yourself. Take care of your health. We're also facing a lot of health issues right now coming up. Guys, this is the first day of winter. This could be the long, dark winter for many, many reasons. Dark, our grid may go down. And there may be new shutdowns with this stuff going around. Right now Biden came out and talked about sending out test kits. He's not talking about shutdowns yet, but look what's happening in other countries right now. They're in this. Look at Canada. Look at especially Australia. I feel sorry for the people in Australia. They are being oppressed, but they gave up certain rights, certain things that we still have freedom of here in the United States. Maybe that's the only difference. If we give that up, what do we got? 2-6, nothing. That's a possibility. That's a strong possibility. So I've got a lot of posturing going on right now. Serious posturing, serious rhetoric, incendiary, over the top, fiery rhetoric. What does it really mean? When have we ever heard that? The worst rhetoric we ever heard before was Nikita Khrushchev at the UN beating his shoe on a podium saying, "We will bury you." He went home and got fired. Soviet Union wouldn't put up with that. That was just a little bit too over the top. But today, they've gone above and beyond. They're over that. They're higher than that. I don't know when I've heard anything like this. So bear in mind, Russia, subway system in Russia, they've got a massive massive fallout shelter system, 400 feet underground under Moscow. They did a drill for putting, I think, 40 million people into bunkers just about a year ago. Back in the old days when I was in the Army, they told us that they had fallout shelters for cattle and livestock in Russia. They might do it. They just might do it. I don't know. But guys, Putin said that Russia could survive a nuclear war. I don't think that's really true. Has it really thought about the UV, what that would be coming through, what the nuclear winter would really mean? Or does he think that, okay, we can hunker down for 7 years and come out? And then again, maybe to him, Russia surviving is their inner circle surviving, heck with everybody else. Their inner circle and their military. Well, their grid's hardened. They got bunkers. They're trying to protect the people, something we're not doing here in the United States. So they might be ahead of us. Your job is to make sure that you and your family can get through it. That's what you need to do. Make sure you and your family can get through as best as you can. And you can't do everything all at once, but every little thing you do, it was just a jar of peanut butter. Peanut butter lasts a long time. It's very yummy, by the way. At least I like it. And some people are allergic to peanuts. But guys, every little thing you can do counts. Do as much as you can. Start now. Get ready. Get prepared. And the worst comes to worst, you'll be thankful later because of the inflation coming. It'll save a ton of money on food. It's an investment. I don't know what the stock market's going to do. A lot of people talk about investing in Bitcoin. Invest in Bitcoin. At least you hold it to inflation. What happened? Bitcoin dropped like a rock. just right at the point that people, Bitcoin's going to hit 100,000 by the end of December. And what happens? The experts. That's what they were saying. 100,000 by the end of December. Tons of them are just, it's going to go. And what do you? So think about those things. What is the best insurance policy for you and your family in a time like that? It's prepping. Some people discourage prepping, but they buy insurance. Why? Because you might have an accident. Well, this is another kind of accident. The best way to get ready for it is no insurance policy for this. You are the insurance policy. It's called prepping. That's what prepping is. But it may also be an investment. Think about it that way. At least, if nothing else happens, you got a better sense of peace and security than you would have otherwise. How do I come on here and laugh and cut up and talk about things like this? Because I know I'm doing everything I can. And that's all you can do. Do what you can do. And beyond that, if it's beyond your control, there's no point in fretting it. Do what you can do. Get as ready as you can. Start forming networks with your friends and families so you can cover each other's backs if it goes down. Neighbors. I started thinking about that. Remember, I did videos about buying extra seats so my neighbors could plant seeds. And I bought extra tools for the neighbors. Yeah, remember that video I did a little over a year ago? Going to Lowe's and buying a whole truckload of tools. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, guys. Yeah, think about those kind of things. Otherwise, they might come to eat you. But that's why you need to be thinking and getting things ready now. All right. I don't know what else to say. Pray. Pray. This is a good time to pray. If you don't believe in a higher, greater creator, as I do, meditate. You can also call your congressman, tell them, don't be back one on nuts, okay? Let's stay calm, cool, and collected. Don't go over the top. Don't quite respond to their levels. But yeah, if we were showing a little more strength earlier on, this wouldn't have happened. That's what I'm thinking. All right, my friends. This is the winter solstice. I hope everybody has a good winter. And again, the sun will start coming back in a few days, and we're going to call that Christmas, Yuletide. So let's hope for peace for all mankind. Hope and pray. But always remember, even in Russia, I've been to Moscow. There's a lot of good people there. I actually enjoyed Moscow. When I was in Moscow, I stood around and looked at these people and thought, well, they're just like us. They're just like us. Why in the world do we want to nuke them, and why do they want to nuke us? Person to person, that's not the case. It's the governments. Now, the people in the countries do get they do get programmed by the governments a lot. But, you know, there's good people anywhere and everywhere on earth. There are good people of every race, religion, and color. Don't forget that. And all these people give you the shirt off their back. If you were in Moscow in trouble on the street, there are people that would help you there. So just remember that. I met a lot of good people there. Really good people. Good people. I'm serious. And I enjoyed my trip there quite a bit. But I felt at home, actually, in Russia. Mother Russia. But the stuff Putin's saying, he's gone over the top. He and his guys have gone way too far with that incendiary language. Why? Why? That's the rub. Why? Why to go quite that far? What does it mean? Are the tanks going to be rolling soon into Ukraine? If you're in Ukraine, you might not want to be there. You might want to be finding a way out if you're in the Ukraine. You got friends and family. I got friends in Ukraine. And yeah, when I was in Russia, they were trying to introduce me to a lady from Ukraine, wanted me to marry her. But yeah, I wasn't quite too interested. But you know, it's sad where we're at. It's really sad times where we're at. We need to find a way to back off from all this stuff. I don't know. I bet it's not too late. I'm not saying we need to back out of treaties. No. Don't abandon people you got a treaty with. And Russia knows that. They know it. Of course, if we would do that, then they would laugh and declare a victory because we've really backed up, and they'd probably roll into Ukraine anyway. So it's obvious they want to do it. See, that's what they've done. They put it up the bar so high we can't respond to it, and then they're going to blame us for it. It's a setup. Let's hope whatever they're doing doesn't go past Ukraine. Cross your fingers. Pray that we get through this day. I think we will, but it's crazy. I could be wrong. I think we'll get through this day. I hope I'm not wrong. But guys, events in the world are beginning to look like the events in the last chapter of this book. They have a remarkable similarity. That's all I'm going to say. You figure it out for yourself. Well, that I'm going to say, I really appreciate everybody watching.